Hi, this is Multi-Topic Talk and Master Kambai. We got a guest right now for this replay commentary. You can now present yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mathblitz. I am a relatively high-rated Fog player in the Global League ladder, and a very strict follower of the Red Fire faction, I guess.
Why Red Fire?
Not a very particular reason. I joined the site in like 2008. I was like 11 years old at the time. And I was playing a single game with my brother, and we both just chose random factions to play. And at the time, I hadn't seen all of them, so I just chose one, and the red fire symbol looked pretty cool. So I chose that one, and then he chose Cobalt Ice. And then after that, I don't know, I picked a color and I stuck with it. And now, I came back in like January of this year and saw that I had a lot of games played as Red Fire, so I just kept up the I guess the tradition, maybe, is what to call it.
That's good. So now, why did you pick Hawk?
So I picked Hawk here because I had a suspicion that you were going to pick Sasha based off of the previous games of yours that I'd watched. And while Von Bolt is the quote-unquote counter to Sasha, in general, I don't like playing Von Bolt. I'll play him if I have to, but I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like he's like kind of boring. And I just don't enjoy playing him, and I feel like it's one of those things where like when I play against Von Bolt, I get like really, really angry, and I just don't want to be that person to the other person I play. So like if I don't want to become what I hate, so I don't play Von Bolt unless like the map forces me to. And this map I don't think forces me to play Von Bolt, at least in tier 1.
I totally agree with that. I think in tier 1, pretty much everyone is good. Except maybe Grit. I think Grit is actually the worst right now. But yeah, what's your thought? Who is the worst tier 1 in this map?
So in tier 1, well, first off, we can know that you're right. Grit is absolutely the worst. We can know this based off of the fact that Grit is actually tier 2 inside this map, and even in tier 2, he is very, very bad. He basically loses to every other CO. Maybe against Olaf he had some ideas, but against Eagle and Max he just immensely struggles. So, yes, I would agree with you. Grit's definitely the worst. Javier is very, very bad. There's a lot of the theory of this map goes into what happens with the comm towers, whether like you try to rush one or you try to deny the other. There's a lot of like comm tower based options on the table, and because there's so much uncertainty and because there's no way to guarantee you get a tower, Javier is terrible on this map. So that leaves Sasha, Von Bolt, and Hawk. The map kind of it kind of stalls. So the big issue with this map is that the center is closed. Those river tiles make it very difficult to shift an army from one HQ to the other HQ. It's probably why the map is called Splintered in the first place. And so what ends up happening is that the game kind of devolves into this damage race, where both players are trying to apply pressure onto the other's HQ, and then at the end of it, hopefully, one of them will be able to secure both comm towers. That's really the win condition. Who can like get the most done on the flanks of the map while there's like so much happening in the center of the map, at the HQs of the map.
That's interesting.
So because of this, the map can tend to stall if one player focuses. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because now I understand with your explanation on the map. I understand why I've seen so many players like making a dead ball and rushing the HQ. Most of the time they fail because they are not good at doing it. I've lost a few games on this map because of dead ball HQ and they were better, but most of the time players just try to dead ball the HQ and they just fail. So now I understand why that's a very popular strat to use.
Yeah, so the death ball into the HQ can work. You can end up capturing the HQ. It takes a little bit of time to set up, but it can work. But the devil is in the details. So your death ball is likely to fail, and given proper defense, it should fail. But while you fail at doing that, can you secure one or two properties in another portion of the map? Can you get pressure elsewhere? That's really where the advantage comes in. So the HQ death ball isn't something that is guaranteed the way that, say, the hidden edge, you can kind of overwhelm the one base if you plan correctly.
Yeah.
Instead, it's you pressure that area so that you can get returns on other portions of the map.
Yeah. That's interesting. So now I think you are in charge. Do you have mouse control?
I do have mouse control. So what we're going to see in this game is that I go for I do some stupid stuff, but in general, I go to pressure your HQ, and I noticed during this game that you spend a lot of effort into defending your HQ, and we're going to see the downside of that as a holistic strategy, which is to say that by doing that, you don't have any pressure on my HQ, and even when you win fights, and you win the first 3 to 4 engagements that we have, you have no way to follow up and deal a death blow to me.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the game. So the start is fairly straightforward. There's 3 or 4 different openings on this map. A day 3 recon is very common. Day 5 tank is very common. I opt to go for something that has become more common recently. This is a day, I think, 4 artillery into day 5 recon. This was a build that was originally pioneered by Hogat. If any of your viewers watched Degis, he showed a game that showed this build. And I think he attributed it to someone else. I can't remember exactly, but this is the brainchild of Hogat. Currently, I think ranked 1 or 2 on the fog ladder at the moment. Yeah. And so the idea here is that the recon gets to the front very quickly, not to hit anything, but to provide vision. And then the artillery gets into position soon enough to cover either the comm tower or this city if you're trying to get greedy and you rush them. So that is the central idea behind this build. Plus, the artillery are necessary to storm the HQ eventually, because the artillery are needed to overcome the defense of a tank on top, because often you can only hit it from one side. So the artillery build on this side is usually always going to be good. Okay. Now, you don't go for a particularly aggressive cap phase here, which surprises me. So let's. Actually, I want to take a second to talk about this. So the APC build on this map, in general, based off of general theory, is not good. And the reason why it's generally frowned upon is that it doesn't accelerate any cities. It doesn't accelerate any captures to claw back the funding that you have to sink into this APC. There's no capture that it accelerates. Now, that being said, this APC actually comes in. This is actually very useful for you, but we'll see it later on inside this game. Notably, one of the issues. So in general, when you have a strong side, weak side dynamic, the reason why the weak side eventually falls is that they don't have enough infantry. You can build enough vehicles to withstand a strong side attack, but eventually you run out of infantry, and the strong side eventually has a turn where they continue trading vehicles, but then they shove their extra infantry in front of their vehicles so that you can't counterattack. And then if you want to counterattack, you have to take vehicle and infantry hits, and then at that point, they take more vehicle hits, and then the situation snowballs out of control. So what we see later, and I'll point it out when we get there, is that this APC is going to be very useful for getting infantry over to your weak side to defend. Now, there's some larger scale strategic issues with this strategy, but it was a very interesting idea that I don't know if you intended or not, but I thought it was interesting to point out, and it was cool when it happened, and it surprised me. You had a lot of surprises for me this game.
My main idea with the APC is I'm Sasha and want to speed up my economy, and that infantry is very far away, the one on the building on top. So the APC just allow me to like have my infantry faster on the front line. And I'm Sasha, so I think transport are kinda essential with Sasha, because
Mhm.
if she can get these infantry faster on building, then she will have even better start than if she just go on foot and reach the building, because her strength is her economy, so she need a good jump start, she need a good start, and she need to get some kind of lead early in the game, because at some
Mhm.
point she collapses. When there's a stalemate, she has nothing that truly helps her to like stand out against Von Bolt or Hawk, because they just roll on her with their day to day. So this is why I think APC and transport are important with Sasha. Like with any other CO, I don't consider transport in this map, but that APC I think was justified. But after your explanation, now I kind of understand where you are coming from.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it's really worth it in the future, even for Sasha. But that was my thought process. Sasha need a fast economy, good capture game. The capture game is essential for Sasha, because if you have bad captures, you basically don't maximize your day to day.
I see. Um, so I have a different perspective of Sasha that I would encourage you to adopt because I think it might help you. You're already becoming quite a good Sasha player. I want to just like make that absolutely clear. But there's something that I think might help you just continue to like work on your gameplay. And that is a specific mentality which one of your statements has made me think of, which is this idea that like Sasha doesn't have anything special to compare to Von Bolt and Hawk, and on some maps Javier. And that statement I don't think is true. And what I mean by this is that the way that I think about Sasha is that Sasha is Von Bolt, where you trade being able to have Von Bolt's passive day-to-day all of the time in exchange for 10% more money. Right? So a Sasha player who is playing optimally is going to be doing two things. One, they are never going to let their opponent have a power before like day 25. And the second thing is that they're going to position and they're going to position their units and formulate their strategy such that they pop their powers on turns that they want to be Von Bolt for a turn.
Yeah.
And then they position themselves in such a way that they can't be punished, that there's no fighting happening on the turns that they're back to just regular Sasha. Okay, so so that's how I think you should think about it. Sasha is Von Bolt with more money, but you need to organize and structure things to make sure that you are Von Bolt all of the times that you need to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving back, so you had a stream with Go7 where you had like a Sasha versus I don't remember who you played on the other side, but it was he was definitely playing Sasha. It was a Sasha here. So I just want to go ahead. I was watching, or at least I watched the replay on 2x speed. But I just want to bring back up something that he said during the stream about Sasha's income advantage, which is that there's two ways to leverage Sasha's income advantage. One is to tech up faster, so to make heavier tanks or bombers faster than you normally would. And the second way is to get a unit count by spamming copters, because you can build copters sooner, and you can build copters and tanks sooner. Often the limiting factor is that you want to build 2 vehicles every turn, but copters cost 2,000 more, and you often have to base skip in order to get both a copter and a tank. But Sasha doesn't have that issue, right? Sasha has like an extra 1,000, sometimes extra 2,000, that really makes it so that she can spam copters.
Yeah.
So that is how I would think about leveraging her income advantage. And you don't need to transport. Transports can still be good. Transports can still be good for all the reasons transports are good for other commanding officers, but they're not necessary as Sasha. You already have the income lead. There are other ways that you can leverage it. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and keep going forward. So this turn actually is my first surprise. So normally when I play players and I send this recon up, they've got an infantry inside the city.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's already captured. And the reason why this is important is that players will sometimes make their first tank on their weak side if they're anticipating. Like Tordred. Tordred knows to expect this opening and will build his first tank weak side. He'll go like day 3 recon strong side, and then day 4 or like day 5 tank on his weak side, and then he'll capture the city early so he can get an infantry inside this mountain and see where this artillery is going to be parked. And so depending on conditions, this artillery goes into either this plain to prevent this comm tower capture, or into this forest to either kill the infantry on the mountain or prevent the city capture. And when I sent this recon up and I saw nothing, I realized, I mean, my opening doesn't get anything here. Like, you're not challenging any of these things. It doesn't matter where I put this artillery. Now, there's some chance that this city was captured and you're going to go for this comm tower. So I went ahead and I just positioned it I put it in position to interrupt that capture. But I'm sitting here, like, wondering what's going on. Because I haven't seen any of your units, and at this point in the game, I've already, like, normally I see something like this.
So, me, I always have a tank on my weak side, because I know by experience a lot of players park a recon there, and they really want to deny you the tower. So I was like, maybe that's some kind of high caliber, high level strat people use in higher ILO, and I just happened to see a few players that fought that kind of strat. So based on experience in this map, I always have my own tank on my weak side, because I hate it when people do it, and I want the counter.
So, in my opinion, you should never go for your weak side comm tower, or you should never look to rush it. And the reason for this is that there are a number of counters. So yes, there's that recon shot that most people do. There's this artillery shot that I have done this game. But there's a number of ways that capturing that comm tower can be prevented. And if you if they prevent it and they kill your infantry, you end up in this situation where like the weak side already doesn't have enough infantry, and then you lose more. And while it is possible to secure that comm tower if you invest a lot of money into your weak side, what ends up happening is that after you've invested all that into your weak side, the opponent just captures the comm tower on their side, since you can't invest heavily on your weak side and your strong side at the same time. So both sides get their weak side tower, but now all of the fighting is happening on your weak side. And if all the fighting is happening on your weak side, then we're happy, because eventually you're going to run out of infantry and I'm going to storm your HQ. So in my opinion, you should never try to capture that comm tower. You should look to deny it as much as possible, but you should never look to actually try to capture it. And so the thing I've done on the right side is my preferred method of dealing with this, at least when I go for this particular opening. So this infantry gains vision of the comm tower, so I can see if you're rushing it. But it's within 6 range of my base, so it can be covered by a tank. And the interesting thing about this particular movement is that I don't actually have to build this tank. I will, because people trolling through my replays should see me build this tank at least occasionally, so that like they don't know that like they can just kill this infantry. But I don't even have to build this tank weak side all the time. I can build another infantry or like an artillery, or just pretend that it's a tank, and then maybe build a vehicle on my strong side to keep turboing, keep on building the army that I know I'm going to need in order to storm their HQ.
Yeah.
Actually, this is probably a good time to talk about what that looks like, what the army you need to storm the HQ looks like. So again, you need artillery in order to knock things off the HQ, and then also reinforce the area. So typically a standard army composition that I will build before I look to take the HQ is like 2 artillery, 2 anti-airs. That's very important. Never approach your opponent's airport side without at least 2 anti-air. So 2 artillery, 2 anti-air, 3 tanks, a recon, and a lot of infantry. That's typically what I'm going to have before I make a serious attempt at rushing your HQ. Before that, I will be trying to like set up a defensive position, but I won't actually like move forward until I have everything I need to deal with most of the counters that you could throw at me. Also, because I'm Hawk and I know I have less money, I know I have to go for cost-effective army value, since I know you're going to have either more units or be out-teching me a lot of this game.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep on pushing forward. So, all right, this is So you've shifted over a tank to your weak side from your strong side, which means you have an extra infantry, and you built in a B-copter. And this is where I make a huge mistake. So again, I haven't seen anything, and now I'm getting cocky. And I'm thinking that, well, I can't see anything. If I'm projecting onto you, I'm thinking, oh, there must be like a lot of units on my strong side right now, getting ready to like start the HQ rush. I'm gonna see if I can sneak in a little bit of a like cheeky capture of this comm tower before you're ready, or before you can even see that I'm doing it. And so, yeah, so I get some vision. I see the tank, and like now being a little worried, I start figuring out, okay, well, how can I cover this recon from the tank hit? And so I do some more moves that I know I'm going to do. And then I do this little position where I know your tank can't reach my artillery. And I'm hoping that, hey, if you take a hit on my recon, the recon still has vision, I can hit the tank back, and then you don't know that I haven't built a tank here. So the turn after this, I could have tank reinforcements, right? Like I'm doing a lot of gameplay based off of what I know you don't know about my position, and using that to try to maybe cow you into not taking aggressive action. Unfortunately, you have gone for a very heavy weak side push, and you kill a lot of my units. And at this point, I realize, oh shit, I'm in trouble, because you're early game CEO and you've gotten your first victory. Now, I see that you've invested a lot in your weak side, so I know there can't be anything strong side. So I know that like at this point, I can like take some free hits on the strong side and capture my comm tower without worrying too much. But I'm in a pretty bad position. So I immediately start retreating everything. I take this free hit on the infantry because I know it's a free hit. And I start positioning myself. So I'm worried that I'm going to lose the anti-air here. But I got it within 1 reinforcement range. Honestly, you probably could have still pushed forward and killed this. But I am now in, hey, this is like kind of dicey territory now. I need to start like turtling up. I need to play defensively now. Because you've successfully surprised me, and now I need to like figure out what to do about it. Okay. I see the APC. I'm really surprised by that. And what I don't know is that this APC has already been shoving infantry over to your weak side. So in my head, what I'm thinking is, all right, he's built a lot of tanks and a B-copter. I'm not expecting to see more than like 2, maybe 3 infantry on your weak side. So I figure, all right, I have a bunch of infantry that are streaming towards the front. If they get up to the front and then I build more tanks and bolster up behind them, I should have like a 1 to 2 window opportunity to kill off his infantry, get some vehicle hits, and then be in a pretty good position because he's built all of these tanks weak side. And when I see the APC, I don't realize that you've been using this to move infantry over to the weak side. So a couple more turns pass. I'm just setting up a defensive. I set up a defensive wall. I start like building more artillery, building more tanks, getting ready to build a death ball in this location to shove into your HQ. And make sure to kill the infantry off the mountain, and then you go in. This is probably a mistake on your part. You go in and you make an attack, trying to hit, like get a hit off on my artillery. But again, this is you're taking a lot of vehicle on you're taking a lot of vehicle on infantry hits here, which means that I'm going to be able to get first strikes with my vehicles, which is what ends up happening. So you do that, and then so this is you making a mistake. It's not you still have the advantage here, but this gives me a lot of breathing room.
I was kind of scared by you because I was like, if I don't do anything, his army will just build up and rush me and beat me. So I know it's a mistake, but that was my thought process at the moment. I was like, I need to do something about that blob of units.
Yeah, so I managed to kill 2 of your vehicles in infantry and both trap and cripple another tank. So this is a really good trade for me. I basically crushed most of your early army, and I can't push because I don't know what you've got. But I know that like at this point I'm breathing a little easier. Things are like not like dire, and I'm actually more worried about your strong side because again I'm convinced that you don't have enough infantry on your weak side, and I'm expecting a giant blob of infantry, kind of like my blob of infantry, to start descending on me on my strong side here, because I don't know that this APC has been used to move all of these infantry over to your weak side. So a little bit more happens. Here I make a mistake. I know that this recon has to be covered by anti-air, but actually what I'm worried about here is that if I don't do anything, I'm not going to have, because I haven't built another artillery on my weak side. I'm worried that if I don't do anything about the situation, you're going to be able to capture my comm tower because I only have infantry defending this side. So even though I know that, so I keep going in, attacking, trying to consolidate and setting up a bolster here. I go in and I attack all of this stuff because I need to like chip down your infantry just to slow it down until I can get something happening on my strong side, until I can get like something happening. And so I'm kind of worried at this point that like I'm not going to be able to do anything with the infantry. I'm going to lose the comm tower. And if you manage to secure both comm towers, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's an argument to be made that I shouldn't hit this recon, but I didn't want you to have another vehicle to hit my infantry. And I'm just trying to, again, it's like the last game where you were ahead. I'm just slowing you down, damaging all your infantry while I look to create counterplay in other portions of the map. So, so this turn, I think, yes, I purposely build less than I can afford, because another thing that this has more to do with like how I know about how you play. I know at this point that you've built a Neotank. I haven't seen it, but I know that the way you like to play Sasha is you like to spam heavy tanks. Yeah. And so I'm expecting the Neotank. So I light build this turn with the expectation to build a Neotank next turn. And I build the artillery because I know I'm going to need it to defend my weak side. So you get a ton of infantry into this area, which I am very surprised by. And at this point, I realize like what has happened. And I know that you can't have much on your strong side now, and that you're basically dedicating all of your units to your weak side trying to fend me off. Now, at this point, I make another serious mistake. At this point, I think that you've been transitioning into heavy tanks. So I'm expecting to see like a couple tanks, maybe like one copter and a bunch of infantry on this area. I'm not expecting to see like a ton of copters. So I go in this turn expecting to kill off as many of your infantry as I can, and then initiate captures on your comm tower and city to force what vehicles you have into hitting them. And while they spend a turn hitting them, I'm hoping to kill off all of your infantry, because again, the issue with the weak side is that you don't have enough infantry to defend. But here, obviously, you have more infantry than me, so none of that actually matters. But I go in and I attack. I try to kill off and damage as many of your infantry as I can for later attacks. But you just have more vehicles than I'm expecting at this point, and you get a devastating attack on me. Like this was bad, and I was like, wow. All right. Once again, I am in trouble. So clearly, like, I'm surprised you managed to get hits off on both of my anti-airs, and you have 3 copters. I have to retreat here. Now, I successfully projected the Neotank, so I built one in response. But this was a very carefully planned turn. I very carefully selected where I sent all of my units to kind of bait you into attacking more and get my Neo Tank in position for potential first strike. So
Yeah.
I immediately start healing all of my anti-airs because I know I'm going to need them. And so what I set up here is this tank has been moved to a position where if you were to rush forward, kill this infantry, and try to get first strikes on both this tank and artillery, you still wouldn't see my Neo. That is the crux of this position. That being said, you do a good job in not pushing forward. Honestly, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But again, this is kind of the issue with this kind of defense. Sure, you've dealt a very critical blow, and if I press any forward and you manage to kill what's left of my army, I lose. That is true. But you're not in position to challenge my HQ here. So this huge army that has successfully stopped a push is not in position to hit anything else.
I should have.
So it's
at that point. If I front shift,
you should front shift. You should front shift. That's something you should absolutely do. But the problem is that, in general, it's difficult for an army to front shift. Now, there's something in particular that you could have done to continue pressing. I still think you're winning here, but there's something you needed to follow up with here in order to make your attack more realistic. And what that is let me go ahead and show what you do, and I'll point out the issues with it, and then we'll go into what I'll open up the move planner and show you what I would have done in this position.
That's
so
funny.
You go in and you get vision. Mm-hmm.
Before we go further, that's funny because usually I don't tend to have that many battle copters, but based on what Go7 told me on my collab with him, I need unit count with Sasha. If I can spam air unit, can really help out. So that's why right now I got many copters, because usually I say 2 copters and we are fine. But Sasha, I can't copter spam because unit count.
Okay. So that is a good idea. But once you have those copters, you have to know how to use them. And that is the main difference between the move that I'm going to suggest and what you ended up doing, which is that you send your copters to kind of form this defensive blockhead. But again, even if they stay there, they're not doing anything. They're not threatening anything. You can't actually push into my 2 base. That's suicide. So why these copters are so good is that, again, the central focus of this map is that the center is blocked. But the copters can move from one HQ to the other HQ across these rivers. So you kind of push forward here, but really what you should have done is looked to move your copters into a place where you could start threatening my HQ. So if I were you, let me go ahead and just open up the move planner here. Could you check to make sure that this is still centered inside your stream? Oh, this is the wrong turn. Actually, hold on. This is the wrong turn. Let's move back a turn. Yeah. Now we can open up the move planner. Alright. Just want to make sure that if there's people watching that they can see these moves that I'm about to do.
They see it. I've got my second screen and everything seems fine.
Okay, great. So what I would do here is first finish off this 2 infantry with the 4H. You did that. That's great. But if you want vision, that's fine. But you need to use the units that you can afford to lose. So I would take this 3 HP infantry, load it into the APC, and do this in order to kind of get a feel for what I could see. And you could see down to this plains and then out to this lab. So you could see this 2 HP artillery, this infantry, this infantry, this infantry, and the recon. Now, when I positioned my units, I specifically did it so that you wouldn't be able to see a lot of my units in vision. This is just a aspect of how I play. I play around where I know my opponent can see, and I will position things just out of vision to bait them into overextending. Okay. But what I would do is I would send the infantry there. I would see that all of the units have pushed far back, which means it's going to take them a little bit of time in order to get forward. So I would start working on getting a attack going on my strong side. So easy things is move all of your infantry into position. You have a recon, so you don't need to take this mountain yet. So I would say move the recon into the city. A recon in the city can see how many units from my strong side go over to defend my weak side. And then I would start moving infantry forward, because again, you need your infantry in order to do anything. I would send this recon, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This forest is fine. No, not the forest. You want this recon somewhere else. This recon actually goes into this city to heal, and then this 5 HP infantry goes into here in order to go onto the this mountain tile layer.
Okay.
Yeah. You move the AA back. The AA is never going to be useful. It's like way too low. But maybe we can use it to like get vision or be a blocker somewhere. Right? I would immediately start building another anti-air. You have a lot of copters, but you're still going to need at least one anti-air. How much money do you have? You had, I don't have the extension on this computer. You had enough money. I'm sure however much money I heard there's going to be. I would start shifting over your tanks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I have 23 income at that.
23 good. So I have 15 left. Yeah. Move a tank into 1, 2, 3, 4 into the forest. Yep, like you did. And then most importantly, we want to move all of your copters into a centralized location. We'll use the tank to block. And we'll send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe here makes more sense. No. You know the recon is there, so you want your neo tanks to be out of vision. So yeah. I would move there. And then now I would build an artillery. I'd build an artillery here in order to because it's a very cost-effective unit for delaying an HQ cap.
Okay.
And then the infantry doesn't really matter where it goes. We'll move it here for sake. And then let's see here. You have 9,000 left.
Yeah, 9K.
You don't have enough tanks here, I don't think. Let me think about this for a second. Would I build a second anti-air? No. I would build an artillery here. I'd build another artillery here. Because we need again, you're going to need artillery to knock units off of my HQ. And so because you have enough B-copters, you have 2 tanks, you have an anti-air coming in, you have a neo tank. So this is the move that I would do. I would start positioning myself to start storming my HQ. Because this is what this is going to do. It's going to force me to take my units and come over to my weak side. Because I don't have enough firepower to launch a second attack into your HQ right now. And you are going to be faster than me. So this is the move that I would have done.
That's good to know.
But instead, you move your copters over. You move at least one of your copters over to this flank, where it's not going to be able to do any attack. Yeah. So that 4 HP infantry, it's going to take forever to heal enough to threaten your comm tower. So just ignore it. You can deal with it when it comes. You want to turbo attack my side to force. You want to take aggressive actions that force responses out of me. You want to be controlling the flow of the game. And when you move into this area, you don't control the game because you're not threatening anything. You can never realistically push into my 2 base. Okay, so I see this, and then I see an opportunity to cripple one of your B-copters. So I go in and I go for it, and I build a new anti-air to respond. And again, I'm pushing into your weak side. I'm trying to set up a defensive bolster that you cannot hit, that you cannot like crush. So that again, I want to control the pace of the game. I'm trying to get you to respond to this so that I can threaten your HQ. And because because my recon on the city saw that you didn't have enough units on your strong side to threaten anything, I have the time to do this. Now, I make some mistakes on my weak side. I don't position my infantry in the right places to prevent a comm tower capture. But luckily, you don't see that, and you don't go for capture this turn.
Yeah.
So you attack in. Again, this was another trap. I've hidden my Neotank because I suspect that you have one Neotank. At this point, I don't realize you have two. But I have a Neotank, so I know I can get a first strike off, and that should be surprising. And so you go in to get hits off of my artillery, but you fall in for a trap that I've set here. So I managed to get a first hit off on your Neotank and kill another bunch of your units.
I see.
Okay. Yeah, so again, I make a mistake in that I don't position myself correctly. I have a copter to stop this captive comm tower, but really I need an infantry inside this city. I do a bad job of defending my weak side. I have to. That's stuff that I need to work on. So here, you retreat, and I start working on another push. So I just start reconsolidating. I'm healing units. I'm getting vision, and I'm getting ready to push again into your HQ. But I don't have all of the elements of what I need. Remember, I come in with 2 artillery, 2 anti-air, a few tanks, and then in this case, I have a Neotank because I know you have a Neotank. But I still need like a turn or 2 to consolidate. So I'm delaying another turn, just being happy to get vision before I push in. And then this is the crucial ending turn. You initiate a cap of my comm tower. I know that if you capture that comm tower, I lose the game. And so I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, I'm sorry?
Why you lose if you lose your tower?
The reason I lose if you get this tower is that your units become stronger than mine, right? You now have stronger units than mine, you have more money than me, and even if I get off a single power, I'm never getting a power out after that. So now the game is now in your favor. You now have the long-term strategic advantage instead of me.
Okay.
So I know I need it. Whatever it takes, I need to get that hit that infantry. And at this point, I'm really, really regretting not building a tank. Oh, actually, now that I look at it, there was another way. I could have used this recon and this infantry to clear this infantry and then hit it with my copter. Okay, there was a way for me to hit the infantry without going for power. But in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I'm at 3 bars. Whatever it takes, I need to get power this turn, no matter how many units it loses me. And so I immediately start hitting things, going for all of the attacks that I know I want to go for, and getting vision, and then trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to, how am I going to get the rest of my charge here? And I'm weighing a couple options. I can sack some of my tanks into your Neotank, or I can look to get hit something hit a B copter or something that I expect you have, or try to sack my 1 B copter on my strong side. And after, let's see, I do some moves. Right, it's this move. So after a little bit of thinking, I decide to just send my B copter in to get a first strike on your tank, and then reevaluate what to do after that. So I see your bomber. I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is bad. And I see all of your stuff. And at this point I am committed. At this point, I realize that I have to get my power here, because if I let that B copter die for nothing, I'm in a really bad position because of all of the stuff you have, and because you're about to capture my comm tower. So at this point, my plan is, all right, I'm going to sack everything into this to get my power, and I'm going to use that power to kill all of your infantry on the right side, and then whatever you hit me back with, I might be in a bad position again, but I'll just retreat, I'll rebuild, and we'll go again. We'll just reset, and maybe next time I'll be able to get a good hit off. So, oops. Let me just go ahead and rewind. So, just going for opening up the ability to get a power this turn, and then now going in, seeing the bad situation, and then just starting to hit everything to get to my power, immediately activating it, and then proceeding to try to damage and kill as many of your infantry as possible. Yeah. Okay. So you spend this turn and you kill. Oops. Crap. You kill all of my tanks, which I was expecting. But you don't kill all of my units. And at this stage, I realized that, like, I might actually be able to win this. And here, the only note that I have for you is that you probably should have popped power this turn, just for the defense.
Okay.
Yeah. So popping power here for the defense, you'd still have a power the next turn, but by not doing that, I managed to destroy your bomber. I managed to get off a lot of hits here that could have taken more strikes for me to be able to kill. So at this point, I realized, okay, this is not fatal. I should be able to clear out some of your units and set up a defense at this mountain again. And at that point, because I killed all of your infantry on the right side and I have a unit advantage, now I know that that I'm probably winning at this point, if I can accomplish all of that. So I make sure you don't get the comm tower. I sack my infantry into this infantry to make sure that this tank hit kills. To make sure that this hit kills. And then I focus on killing all... So that bomber may have survived there without the if that hadn't happened. And I'm looking to set up a defensive. I make sure to kill your B-copter, because now I have 3 anti-air, and 3 anti-air is more anti-air than I need. I only need 2. And I start setting up a wall to protect these 2 anti-airs and force vehicle hits on, again, these infantry. So at this point, I understand that I am ahead, and things worked out. But I did not know that before this turn. I was still convinced that I was in like a kind of desperate position.
Yeah.
And so at this point, you resign. It wasn't necessary to resign at this point. It's definitely bad for you. But the issue that I still have here is that I don't have answers for both of your Neotanks.
Yeah.
So, you could have continued the game against other players. I'm pretty sure I could drive this home to a victory, because again, we're seeing the issue where you don't have enough infantry on the weak side to block.
Yeah.
But against other players, I would absolutely continue fighting from this point. All you need to do is make sure I don't get your comm tower, and use your Neotanks to try to get some kills off on vehicles wherever possible.
Yeah, I resigned because I knew you were better than me, and I knew you surpassed me in terms of unit count because you just killed too many of my troops on the previous turn. So I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm coming back.
Yeah. I know I said that it was not lost, but I think you're right. I think it was basically lost at this point in the game.
If Zasha fall behind her opponent in terms of economy, it's really bad. If her unit count is worse, it's bad, but she can still come back because of her economy. But the moment she loses the economy thing, she lost the game, and you were capping one of my buildings. So this would mean this time around, if I decide to keep going, I will use tanks to shoot your infantry instead of damaging your tanks and vehicles. So that's already a losing scenario, because either you surpass me in terms of economy and I become weak, or I stop you, but you have all your tank to do whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple things that I want to bring up before I assume we would open this up for questioning. I've talked a lot about tactics and little traps that I set up, but there's some thematic ideas from this game that I want to bring up in case it can be educational either for you or your viewers.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and rewind to earlier turns. To demonstrate them as they pop up. 1 second. Here we go. Okay. Why is this doing this?
I don't know.
That's super weird. Maybe I can move the. Oh, somebody need to fix. Oh, there we go. I got it. Everything's fine. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is Sasha is a very difficult CO to play because even when you have advantages, it's difficult to push your advantage. So again, I just want to recap. You did a very good thing around like turn 7. You did a very good thing where you surprised me and put me in a bad position. But you always have to remember that the way you win this map is to overwhelm your opponent's HQ side, or to like get both comm towers, and typically you can only do that by threatening your opponent's HQ.
Yeah.
So you want to you had like a strategic weakness of focusing too much on your weak side, but it's also just an issue with like Sasha in general. So at this point, you did a good job, but you want to capture cities and then start transitioning over to a strong side push. And then later on in the game, you shouldn't have gone at this turn. You shouldn't have pushed into my strong side. You should have just set up finish capturing. Have your infantry set up a defensive blockade on the HQ and send your vehicles to start threatening my HQ. This will be a theme, I guess, in a couple places. Keep on going. You surprised me again here. I retreat again. At this stage, we went over like what I would do on this turn, but again, shift your units over to your strong side, threaten my HQ, and then the rest of the game, like you just run out of chances because I managed to consolidate an army and managed to win a fight, and at that point the game's over. All right, so for those of you who are interested in playing Sasha, you have to be aggressive. Multi-topic talk, like Master Combat, you did a fantastic job of early aggression. You absolutely got the advantage in the early game, and that was great. Good job. But the next step is transitioning that into a mid-game and finally a game-winning advantage, which in this case involves front shifting. I just wanted to point that out. I cannot stress that you did a really good job surprising me in this game.
I'm good at my starts, but it's rare I'm able to maintain the good start.
And the last thing that I want to bring up is this turn of mine, where I yeet this B-copter into your recon. And basically the reason why I want to bring this up is that sometimes losing trades, like trades that make you lose units, are still trades that you should take. And this happened in our previous game on Fletcher Walker, and now I'm also showing on this side, where I just want all the units in one area to be dead. Because if all the units in one area are dead, I can't lose any properties. So I go for this losing trade that I know I'm going to lose this B-copter, but I do it because I don't want you to capture my comm tower. And as long as I can make sure you don't get the comm tower, it's okay for me to take this losing trade. Well, it's not okay, but it's necessary for me to take this losing trade in order to not, like, lose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much, man. A lot of good advices. What else you wanted to add?
Oh yeah, so for you and your viewers, look for these kinds of like opportunities. Geek fests are sometimes what you have to do, or can sometimes give you advantages. And when you're looking for ways to get advantage of your opponents, try to force them into yeeting their units.
Yeah. So here again, thank you very much, and you will be coming back for sure, because you're always good at giving advice and you are very motivated, which is great. I like it when people are motivated. So that was fun, man. You are really strong, and that was fun.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time, man. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we end?
No, just, everyone take care of yourselves and, keep playing. We want the site to have as much activity as possible. And if you're on the Discord, reach out and pound chat to your pound globally. There's a lot of people who are more than happy to give advice to other players, because we're just looking to push the community farther, get more people who enjoy playing the game, play it at a certain level, because hopefully maybe one day we'll have 10,000, 12,000 people playing this game, and we can really get this into the mainstream.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good. So like, comment, and subscribe. We will see each other in future video.